Yeah, so last week we discussed about introduction to business analysis and as a BA what you are required to do, the skills, the your role and how you can set up how you can gather your requirements. We talked about um I think we talked about can I still remember? We talked about interviewing, what you need to do, and also how you can identify your stakeholders. And yes, yeah, I think those are the things that we talked about. And also, I think we touched briefly on the workshop, and I explained various ways that you can various techniques that you can use to actually gather your requirements. And also, we talked about shadowing, about scenarios, document analysis. I think I didn't really go into detail on that, but I know we discussed on the interviewing and the workshop. And yeah, so, and I hope you've actually listened to the previous videos, and so that at least if you have any question, we can yeah, we can discuss that as we go through this last lecture. Yeah, because this is the last lecture anyway, because it's more or less like a crash course anyway, but you can get all the detail from previous videos. Okay, yeah, so I said we are going to discuss on the business processes, um, modeling, and also on the yeah, which is still part of modeling. We are going to use Visio as well, and I think also the terminologies as well. And one of the things that I just need to stress is that when you are having conversation with your stakeholders, so these are the users, like the end user, you need to make sure you use plain language. You don't use all these BA jargons or terminologies. So just try to use like if you say elicitation, so just you don't need to tell them you elicited. They will be like, "What are you saying?" But definitely, we know it means gathering. But just tell them that you want to gather requirements. So that's really simple and English that everyone will understand. Say gather requirements, and also there are some. Sure there are some other BA jargons that, like if you say pain points, so definitely somebody may be like, okay, what do you mean by pain points? Or maybe if you say, your, let's say, my swim lane, not everybody will know what a swim lane diagram we mean. But if you say your map, your processes, definitely the business will understand the processes. But if you're saying a swim lane, they may be wondering what are you referring as a swim lane. So just try as much as possible that when you are having conversation with various business stakeholders, you try to use plain language. I mean simple language. Don't use jargons. And so when we talk about the business process, so what is a business process? I'm not really going to go into trying to define it. I'll just explain it. I don't want to do word for word, like trying to give you definition, but I'll just try to explain. So what is a business process? We can say the business process is like a set of activities or tasks that you carry out to produce, to have, for you to deliver your product or your service. So the process is just like when we say what is the business process. Assuming that we have, maybe this is a catering, let's say a catering school, a catering organization, or let's say we actually maybe we do produce cake. Yeah, let's say we do bake cake. Yeah, let's say this is like a, for example, let's say cake box or sweet sensation cake company. And if you're working in the organization and they may ask you that, oh, we want to try and, we are having we want to do some probably maybe process reengineering, or we have a process that we just want to, maybe a new system, they want to move from one system to the other, and they want you to document their current process, which says the as is process, and maybe the to be process, which is their future process. And for you to understand that, you have to ask them depending on where exactly the tax anyway, the projects. So you need to ask them. For example, let's say we want to make something now. So we can say we want to try and probably re-engineer the way the time that it takes from when you place an order, that when you place an order for a cake, and when it gets delivered to your doorstep. So we can say, okay, first of all, we will now say, okay, what do they do first? Okay, so customer place an order, maybe online, or they walk into the shop to actually place that order for the cake. And then we'll ask them, what do you do next? Oh, we take the order, we put it to the kitchen. Okay, so then we can say, okay, kitchen, when you receive the order, what do you do with that? Oh, we actually enter the information into the system to know the composition of the cake. Okay, so after that, what do you do next? We get all the ingredients out from the store or from the storage, and then what do you do? So we can even say, what is the duration that it takes you to actually, from when you get the from the order, we can be measuring the time as well. If it's something that has to do with, maybe you are trying to reduce from 5 days to 3 days, you can be noting the time as well, just in case. But definitely you don't show that on the process map. I'm just using that as an example. And so we can say, okay, when we get it from the storage, and we give it to the chef. And what does the chef do? The chef try to make the check the, maybe they review the order, and try to make sure it has all the things that needs to be that is needed for the baking the cake. Okay, then what else? The chef start mixing the flour or the everything together, put in there. After baking it, what happens? We contact the customer that will be um will be delivering. We send an SMS or email. Where what we are just trying to say is just the process, how it's what, like the sequence, in sequence, how it happens. Because I don't want to say, oh, they place an order online, then we bake the cake and we deliver. So you won't really know the details that involve in getting the from order, from placing an order to the delivery. So all we are just trying to, so for the business process, you want to see the end to end, the transaction, the activities, the tasks, that involve, to get that product out or to deliver that service. And the same thing applies to a service as well. When you're delivering a service, probably maybe it could be probably maybe it's an IT service that you provide for maybe they outsource their IT service to your company. How do you do that? So those are the things you want to know, the step by step or the sequence of the tasks or activities. So that's what the business process is. So even if you're working in a school, definitely they have business processes there. Maybe for admission, that's one of the processes. Maybe the processes of getting the lunch or dinner for the children, or the classroom arrangement. Definitely even the children, they have the process for the day, their day-to-day process, which means probably once they resume, do the register. Maybe they do the group, or maybe they go to the assembly, and they go to their class. That's their day-to-day process. So that is just what the business process is all about. So you now need to relate it to maybe the project or the organization that you are working with. And depending on the project, it could be probably maybe they want a new HR system. So that means you want to understand how the processes that are involved. It may not be one process that will involved in that HR system. So sometimes you may have like maybe five different processes because the HR system, they may be using one process maybe for maybe creating employee number for for new staff. Another process could be for a new starter. Another process could be maybe for the personal development plan. They will have different processes. So um it's just so in a project, so it's not just that, oh, you say you want to map end to end. We say map. It's not end to you can't just do it in one big one. If not, that will be too high level. And I'm going to talk about the level as well, because if you do high level, that means like a overall, like a summary. But if you're not going into detail, definitely you need to break it down. We have like level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 3 is the highest that I know so far anyway. So yeah, so that's a business process. Then why do we model a process? I think I've explained it. You want to know how the activities or the the sequence of the tasks, and for you to produce maybe for you to deliver a product or a service, you want to understand how that will be carried out. It could be a new system. You want to know how it will work. Maybe once you have a new HR system now, you want to know how you can register a how you can register a new starter, or how you can set up a new starter, or how you can set up a generate employee number. All those things are processes. So and you use that, and sometimes you use the business process just to identify maybe the bottlenecks or where the problem is, because they may be saying, oh, it takes us 5 days to actually deliver a cake to a customer. Then you may be wondering, why is it taking 5 days? Can't you do it within 2 days? Okay, let's understand what the things that are involved, why you do this. Then you can be able to say, oh, this way, this one that takes you 20 minutes, can't you do it in a 5 minute, or we can even automate it. Or maybe there are some manual work that they have to do. They may say, okay, let's automate it. We want to try and save time. So that's another reason that you can actually why you model a process. And also the reason why you model a process is that they may give you requirements like hundreds or 30 requirements, but you don't really know. Even because I may say, I want to be able to bake, I want to be able to deliver, I want customer to be able to place order for a cake, I want customer to be able to specify, but I don't know the sequence of how it's going to work. But the business process will help me to understand what comes next, what comes afterwards, the sequence. But because if you write a requirement, you may just write it, but you may not really know how the process is being carried out. So the business process help you to actually, have that visual again. So it's not just tests. It gives you that visual that you can easily glance through. Then you'll be able to understand the process of placing an order, and from place an order to delivering a order for a particular company. So yeah, so yeah, I think I will stop there. If not, I will keep going on and on. Okay, so and we have different way that we that can model a process. The context diagram, we usually call that level 0. Then we have another one, cross-functional flow diagram, then flow charting, but I will explain in detail. So okay, this one is the unified. So let me see if I will come back to this one later. Or let me just explain this now. So this is another way that you can actually model. This is not, you are not modeling a process. This one is called use case diagram, or when you if you hear them saying, oh, UML. So this is one of the UML UML, let me say style. So for this, we call this particular one use case diagram. And what it shows you interaction of the actor. We call this person actor. So we usually represent it with a stick man like this. And these are use cases. And these are sort of like association. So what I'm saying here, because when you write your requirement, you don't just write requirements. When you are building a system, is advisable that you should always have this use case diagram, because it helps you to show the interaction of the actor or the user with the system. So what we are saying here is this student is actually interacting with the system to register for classes, to pay fees, and also we interact with the system to attend classes, probably maybe online classes. So that means I can easily say for a student, the student must be able to do all these three things within the in a system. So that is so there's the way we put it. But if you check the textbook and the previous video, you will see the way we've actually mapped that, because I mean, probably maybe the diagram, you have like a boundary system. We have something that we have like a rectangle box that is called boundary, and we have the actor, you have the use cases. So here is different for process map, because you can't really see here what comes after this one. You can't because this is not the order, this is not showing the sequence of how all these tasks are being done. Is not showing, so you can't really show it with the use case diagram. So the use case diagram it has its own is the own purpose or functionality, why the process map also has a different purpose. So we can say this use case, anytime, yeah, because if you have like maybe different people, let's say different actors, so we call this actor. So if you have like four different actors and trying to understand how this the interaction with the system, so I may try to do like for maybe like a draw that boundary system and try to show, oh, this student is interacting with the system like this, and maybe a teacher is also interacting with the system, and the tasks that they do, like the use case, what do they do with the system, how they interact, so I can easily show it on the system. So that's just a use case. So when you have any project that has to do with maybe building a system, or you should have a use case. But that does not mean that you're not going to have a process map, because what you need a process map is different from what you need a use case diagram for. So that's the essence of a use case. And so we'll go into detail of this one. So this is like a context diagram. So is we usually call it level zero, and the data flow diagram. And this is more or less like the high level, the high, let me say the highest level. That's why we call it level zero. And it just shows how the system, even note here, this is the main system that we are trying to build or work on, or maybe want to modify. And you show the context diagram shows the data flow in and out, or with the how it interacts with the external entities, and even because like even the student is more or less like external to this, because it's external to this system. So we say it shows the interaction, between the I mean with the external entities. We call all these ones entities, but this is the main system that we are trying to work on. So what I'm saying, and one thing you need to note, that when you are labeling this, you use the like now. I mean noun, now, because what I'm saying now, because we are talking about data flow. So what this is showing is that for this university system, students will be interacting with the system, admin staff of the university will be interacting with the system, the lecturer will be interacting with the system, and the UCAS also will be interacting with this system that we want to build. So this is more or less like we want to build a university maybe system. And so now I need to be able, for the architecture, maybe the solution architect, the technical team, for them to be able to understand how to put all those maybe interfaces together, or maybe like when I say maybe where it's going to connect with this system, all the things like the groundwork, like the architecture for this system, because it's not just that they will just build a system, but because it has to connect with maybe the existing system within the organization. So they need to understand what are the things that will actually, what are the systems that will, entities that will interact with this system that we want to be, so that they can do the planning properly. And so we are saying the admin staff, we actually the be inputting students names in the university system that we want to build. And also the university system will be giving the or generating the matriculation number to the admin staff, maybe to assign it to the or to the student, so that they can say, okay, Abby, this is your matric number is zero, maybe is 0 to 1, so definitely. So that's what we are saying. So we are saying the data that will be, this is like data flow, inflow and outflow, outflow then inflow. So we are saying this is the data that will be the admin staff, or the interaction with the system. And we are saying for the student will be maybe submitting the application details, and it will also be generating matriculation number for them. And it could be probably maybe this one, it will be sending it could be maybe system connection with, is not necessary that it has to be manual or maybe physical. So we can say these UCAS will be connecting to this, and it will be showing the students grade. And maybe also maybe the university system will be producing admission letter to UCAS, feeding the UCAS system, because it could be students. It's not necessary that it has to be human being, it could be system. So here I'm saying probably like a system, so it will be sending the admission letter in there so that the student can access it on UCAS system. And for the lecturer, I'm saying the lecturer will be recording or uploading, or uploading the maybe the course outline, on this on the system. So that means probably maybe the lecturer will just be getting the students names, will be getting the student name from the system. So this is more or less like data. When we say data, that's nouns now. So we are saying these are the data flow in and out of the system. So it will help the technical team to understand the data flow in and out of the system. So that will help them to do their proper maybe planning as well, or setup. Yeah, so I'll move from there. And so this is cross functional. I will show you this earlier or later in Visio. So we call this cross functional. The reason why we call it cross functional is that because you have multiple organization. When I say multiple organization or multiple function, it means multiple roles. It could be a different organization, like maybe let's say this is HSBC, this is Bank of England, this is NatWest. It could be, and it could be probably this is just marketing, this is sales, and this is maybe customer service. So it could be so, but what we are just trying to show here is to demarcate the tax and the roles of each person, to be able to say this person is the one actually carrying out this particular task, despite the fact this is one process, but different people actually carrying out the task. So that's why we call it cross. So cross functional flow diagram. So this is different from the flow charts, which I'm going to show you. And this is a flow chart, which definitely is very common. This, like you can still represent these same activities, you can still have it here, but it's just that you will not be able to know who is carrying out these tasks. Sorry, who is doing this task, who is doing this task. Won't know this. The role who carries out what, you will not be able to know. So that's why it's different. So it depends on the project and also what they ask you to map. So you may need to use flowcharts, or you may need to use the cross-functional diagram. So it depends, but you will be able to determine that whether you need to use cross. But once you know that it involves multiple roles or multiple departments or functions, then you may need to actually have it in different lanes. And the reason why we call this is what we call swim lanes. Like you're swimming, like all this Olympic, swimming pool. You have differently lane one, lane two, who is in lane nine. That's why we call it swim lane. So this is a lane, and this is another lane. This is another lane. So You have to be on your lane, I have to be on my lane. So each person will be on their own lane so that they will know what I'm doing, I will know what you are doing. So if you have multiple people doing, carrying out the same process, is just to be able to say who is responsible for what, and what am I doing, and what is this person or the other person is doing, or other department is doing. And so that's the reason why we demarcate. But sometimes they may just say, oh, I just want you to draw the flow charts. They are not keen on seeing who is doing what. So then you can use the flow chart. But if they are keen on to actually map the process, where you know that it involves more than maybe one department or one more than one road, then definitely you will need to use the swim lane. But I will show you that in later. And I talked about this, I think, on the maybe terminologies last week, on the business process modeling notations. So we'll be able to see that um, in in the application as well, how we show you that. And let's see what we have. Okay, we've done that. And so in terms of the requirements, in terms of your, let me just try and move this away. Okay, hopefully I will not move okay. So in terms of the business requirements, sometimes they may say functional requirements. I think we discussed that last week, and they may say functional requirements specification documents, or they may say functional requirements documents. So depending on what this is, still the same thing as the most times functional requirements. So that means it's just basically on no, or functional or separately. You have a document for all your functional requirements. So meanwhile, maybe probably you have a document for your non-functional requirement. That means you have separate documents for each of these. And so we are saying non-functional requirement specification document. So depending on the template, in most times in every organization you will have a template to use, but sometimes if it's like a new startup, you may have to be the one that will actually devise that template, that will come up with that template. So you may have to work on that, but you can easily get templates online as well. But at the same time, it has to be standard as well. But most organizations will have their template that you can use to write your requirements. And once you are not the first BA in that whole organization, and you can also access maybe previous, when you join an organization, you can ask them, can I have access to the previous BA artifacts? So that means all the deliverables, that the artifacts that the previous BAs that has actually produced, you can easily use that same template if they're happy, so that at least it will be consistent. And so, in terms of the business, so BRD, when you say BRD, so we are saying this is, and they may say business requirement specification documents. So that means it will comprise this one, the functional requirement, non-functional requirement. You may even have your process map in there. You may have your user stories in there. So it depends. Sometimes some people still have your user stories separate. They have the templates separately that they use for their user stories. But in this BRD, you have maybe like the introduction, the problem statement, your requirements, like depending on the template. So you have different sections. You know, in the template. So that is on the business requirements. Um, and so now, we have for the business requirements, you have team and you have epic. And when we are saying the epic is more or less like a big user story that you can break down into two or more user stories. And so it's more or less like a big user story, but it can be broken down. And how do you write your user story? Because as a BA, you should know how to write a user story, but it's very simple. Just what we are saying here is that as excuse me, as a this is the basic user story. There's another one that they call Gherkin language, but this is like the basic one that definitely every BA should know. But if you know the Gherkin one, but if that is usually, I think I'll try and maybe show you that later, because that's usually useful. When you are maybe like a digital project, definitely, yeah, you can use it. But to be honest, not all developers are keen, for you, or maybe the business stakeholder, they are not really keen, you writing it in a Gherkin language like giving when then, we call it giving when then. But these the business, the stakeholders, they actually, they prefer this because it's simple, it's easy to understand, and very simple, compared to, giving when then, and some people may make mistake that may makes it complex. But if you're writing it for stakeholders, I would suggest just use the basic one. I mean, just this template. I would suggest that, except if the developer say, "Oh no, I want you to write it in the Gherkin language for me." Yeah, there you can write it. But for you, for the stakeholders, I would suggest you just use this because yeah, they prefer this. At least from experience, that's what I've realized. And so here we just saying as a role. So what we are saying here is that the role of that person. So I can say as a doctor, I want to check, I want to access user details. So that means we are saying as a I want, so that, so this will be, this will remain, is only this part that will always change. So I would say as a doctor, I want to access patient record so that I can check their details, or so that I can prescribe, maybe prescribe medication, or maybe so that I can diagnose them. It's the reason. Well, the reason is that um your role, I mean, who you are, that you want to use the system, and what exactly do you want to use with the system. This usually do, relate to the feature of that system. Like maybe we have a requirement said a doctor must be able to access patient record. You understand? So that means there should be that functionality to access patient record, maybe, or that will store patient record. And so, but we want to know the reason, because sometimes when you mention the reason, that will help us to actually know how we are even going to develop the system. So because it gives more information about your wants or your need. So I'm saying because I want to be able to, because you imagine I say I want to access patient record, so that I can buy, I can give them gifts. You understand? That doesn't really make sense. It does not relate in any way at all. But I can say I want to access so that I maybe carry out the surgery, or maybe I can prescribe medication, or so that I can check their allergies, or so that there could be lots of reasons why you want to carry out this action that you want. So yeah, so that's why. So you can say as a maybe as a chef, or as a baker, I want to I want to maybe check, review order details so that I can maybe know the flavor or something. You just put something, at least the reason why they want to do it. Although you need to, when they are giving you this requirement, the stakeholder will not say I made this. Definitely you should know the role of the stakeholder, and the stakeholder will not give you this format. But from the requirement that they've given you, you should be able to derive this, saying they may tell you, you definitely, before you even have that meeting or workshop with that stakeholder, you will know their role anyway. You will know whether they are HR manager, or whether they are admin staff, whether the person is a receptionist. You will know. And definitely regarding their requirements, this is what you will know. Regarding the requirement, you'll be able to write this from the requirement, saying, oh, I want to be able to generate employee number. So definitely that's I want to generate employee number, or I want to assign employee number to staff. So that could be action, that could be, it could be generate, it could be action or access, it could be assign, and so that the reason why they want to do it, definitely when you are asking them, gathering the requirement, they will tell you the reason. Oh, we need to be able to assign employee numbers to the staff, because we'll be able to, so that staff can have unique ID, so that we can identify uh which staff, because we don't have to be accessing them by name. We can use that to actually maybe to make it for security reason. They will tell you the reason, so from there you'll be able to write the all this user story. And when you're writing your user story, you don't just write one user story. Imagine you're working on, let's say, baking a cake, or maybe the order of the cake factory that we talked about. You could have different user stories, for that. It's sometimes it could be seven, it could be, but at the same time, once you write the user story, you review it with your stakeholder, so that at least what you've written, they will be able to check it and say, because sometimes when you write the user story, you may put something down and they may say, oh, actually no, that's not what I meant. So that's why I said last week that when you write your requirement, you have to send it to them, for review. Then they can validate that, oh, that is what I actually meant. Yeah, fine. Your user stories as well, definitely they need to sign that off. Because, and the reason why we use the user story is because it will actually help the developers, to actually, when they are developing the system, it will help them to understand the requirement, because this gives more with, like, say, more information, to the requirement that you've written as NO1 or FO1. User must be able to generate a code, or must be able to assign employee number. You understand? That's like a line by line, but this will actually give more information to the developer to actually understand what the user is actually trying to do. And even if they have a way they can do it, they'll be able to say, oh, why not do it this way? They can actually assign employee number this way. They can generate, there are so many things, reason why, I mean, benefits when you write the user story. And so, yeah, so, and that's this is as who exactly are you trying to write the user story? Because you may have a user story for a doctor, you have for surgeon, you have for a receptionist, you have for maybe clerk, you have for, you have for maybe catering, you have, you have for nurse, you have for, all those different roles within. I'm talking about different, maybe in a medical setting, a healthcare setting. So you have different pharmacy, pharmacist. You have different roles. So as a pharmacist, I want to be able to dispense this so that I can, prescribe, or maybe fulfill prescription order. Definitely you have different user story. So as I want what exactly are you trying to do, or what exactly are you trying to use the system for? Because it has to relate to what you're trying to do on the system. So that's why we are saying this actually has to relate with a feature that you want the developer to actually develop for you in the system, that you need on the system that you want to build. And the reason why do you want it? What do you want? Who wants it? So your user story must be able to fulfill this. Then, yeah, that will be a good user story. Once you have it in this format, that's a good user story. And like I said, make sure when you write a user story, you review it with the stakeholder. Yeah, so at least that's a good practice. Some don't do, because they will be like, oh, well, the requirements has been signed off. I know all the requirements that they've actually explained to me. But most times I do try to work the stakeholder too. Sometimes I can even send it to them that, could you please review that and let me know if that's correct, or if there's anything that I need to amend. So because they may say, oh, can you hide this, or can you remove this, or they may tell you that, oh yeah, that looks fine. So there is no when you send that, so I do send it to my stakeholder to review that anyway. And yeah, but I know some people will say, oh yeah, I have the requirement signed off, so I can generate that from your requirement. There's no problem. Fine, you generate it, because I will not sit with the user and with the stakeholder and say, give me user story one, give me user story two. No, but from the requirements, I'll be able to put all this user story together. But it's just like a sense check to say, can you confirm that what I've written, it's just for them to review and validate it. Yeah. So I find that as a good practice for me. So yeah, so that's on the requirements. And I mentioned this last week about wireframe. That wireframe is another way that you can use to actually gather your requirements. You can use that to gather your requirements, and you can use that as a supporting documents, for your documentation or for your requirements as well. Let's talk about how you can use this to gather requirement. Imagine you want to design a website, but they are telling you, oh, we want to actually build a new website because the existing one, probably maybe they need to migrate from that one and build a new one. But find the, let's say, and for on the website, maybe you have different departments. Maybe the facilities have their own section, the HR has their own section, and finance likewise, the customer service, things like that, sales. And you may arrange a workshop, a meeting with them, and trying to understand, okay, what are the things that you want on the website? How do you want your website to look? And they may tell you, oh, I want it to feel engaging. I want it to feel, user friendly. I want it to have blue background. I want it to have contact information, to list our products, to list our address, our location. You understand? They may give you all those requirements, but we are talking about something that has to do with visual. How do, because if you don't use a wireframe to actually, you know, gather the requirements, you may end up building something they will not like, because they will, even if they tell you that, oh, I want the date to always flash up at the right hand side corner. I want our products to probably maybe in a banner at the bottom, but you don't know where exactly at the bottom. Is this somewhere here just below? This is middle, more or less, like, is this somewhere else? Is this at the bottom here? You don't really know. And about the font size, because all this visual in the website, you have different fonts. Some websites, when you click on it, you will even be like, it doesn't really look attractive. And but definitely you want your customer to be able to enjoy their browsing, when their visit to your website. You want that. So so is really really key when when you are doing anything like digital projects, something that has to do with visual, like this website or system. Is always good to actually use that wireframe. And when I think we talked about wireframe earlier, some people, they use Microsoft Word, to even draw all those shapes, the banner. And some, there are so many software out there. And all you need, because if I say I want to draw like the home page, now the home page, we want to have the logo. So how do you even want you fine on the wireframe? You don't have to have the exact logo, maybe this right shape, but at least you can have like a placeholder to say the logo will be at the right hand side here. You can even say, oh, it's going to be maybe blue color or blue background. We can say we are going to have the name of our company. In the middle here, you put sort of like a box. You put sort of like a box somewhere, like a placeholder. It's just like saying this is where our address is going to be, this is where the list of our products is going to be, this is where all the courses is going to be. It's because while you are doing that, because although you don't have to go there, with something saying, oh, I've mock up this, because you don't even know what they want. But while you are there, you can be doing that. You can sketch it while we are with them. It's something you can even sketch on, all these flip charts. They can give you something. Oh, we want all these things. We want, it will aid the discussion, and it will avoid you reworking, rewriting requirements. Imagine you don't have a wireframe. You've written your requirements, they've signed it off, you send it to the developer, and the developer just build it, based on their own experience or how they feel it should look. And you now try to demo, to try to do like a user, to do the acceptance or demo to the customer, and they're like, oh no, I don't have experience in the past whereby the a particular organization, they actually did their requirements, and it has to do with something websites here anyway. And because the BA did not actually specify the background color, the playlet for the home page, So the developer, the supplier, third party supplier actually just used, the color that they felt suitable for the organization. And when they were doing, it was when they were doing the demo that they actually said, "What's it? No, 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 this is not our color. This is not the color." And they were like, "Oh, it's actually blue." They're like, "No, this is not the kind in our shade of blue." You understand? It's asked to the supplier had to, change all those, and there are some little things as well that they had to do. It's cost rework, and sometimes they may even charge you. They may even charge additional cost, saying, anyway, in your requirements, you did not specify the shade of blue. You did not even specify any color. So it's not the fault of the supplier. It's actually the fault. The root cause is actually the BA that did not actually specify, the color, or maybe, excuse me, or how the website needs, the homepage needs to look, the look and feel, the arrangements, the placement of all those banners. So that's why the wireframe is very key. When you are doing anything digital, it's very key you have a wireframe. And because it will even aid your discussion where you are guiding the requirement. They will be telling you, "Oh no, I want this one to be on the right hand side, left hand side." It will be quicker compared to when you don't have a wireframe. That's for gathering requirements. So you use that, it aids your requirement gathering as well. It will help you to, bring them up to speed, and it can easily, makes that small, you have smooth, maybe, journey there in gathering your requirement. And in terms of the development, I think the second one I mentioned, I think development or so. So imagine we did not do that. We did not gather the requirements in terms of resources. So the developer will need to spend extra time. In terms of the cost, it could incur additional charges for the organization. And wireframe as well. Even with wireframe, when they are developing, to help the developer to know that, okay, when I'm developing this is the layout of the home page. This is the layout, because you have to do wireframe from each of those pages that you are going to navigate. Although it's a lot of work, but it's not something that you have to do in one day. So that's why you have to schedule probably maybe different session workshop to do this. Because if they give you anything like the digital, and even if it's agile, they may just say, "Oh, let's focus on the home page first." Yeah, you do the home page maybe just for 2 weeks. Once you finish the home page, oh, then we'll move to the maybe the customer service page. We'll move on to the finance page, like that. So anyway, wireframe is very key when you are doing your requirement gathering for any digital projects. Yeah, let me just. So in the acceptance criteria, so now we've gathered our requirements. We've documented the requirements. We've done the process map. Let's assume we've done the problem. We've written the user stories. Once the and we've done the wireframe, and we've sent these actually to the developers. They are building on it, and sometimes the developer will tell you, "I want to see your acceptance criteria," because it helps them as well to know what they are expecting, what the stakeholders will be expecting. Because the acceptance criteria, these are the criteria that the stakeholder will use to accept that product. These are the things that they will ensure that the system has, they are able to do. Definitely they may not be able to do everything. Like maybe they've given you 30 requirements. They may not want to test 30 things, at in one session. So they may just tell you, I want to be able to create a new starter. I want to be able to create an account for a new user. They may tell you these are the things that are going to test. At least that will make you to prepare for the UAT. We call that UAT. That will make you to prepare, saying, the product I'm building or I'm developing, my stakeholder must be able to, you know, create maybe a new starter and assign them um employee number. It could be maybe that's one of the things that the stakeholder is telling you that he or she wants to want to test. So your acceptance criteria, you write that yourself as well. And one thing is that you can check that, like what I do, because imagine you are writing your acceptance criteria, and you just leave it like that, you send it to the developer, how will you know what the stakeholder wants to test? You can't speak for the stakeholder. So that's why your acceptance criteria, the stakeholders, I always say the stakeholder needs to review that and say, yes, this is what I'm going to test. Because if I just write anything and I don't run it past through the run it past the stakeholder, how will I know what they will be testing, during the UAT? I mean, the UAT is user acceptance testing. How will I know? I can't. I don't know I don't read their minds. So how will I be able to know that? So that's why it's critical that you need to make sure when you write your acceptance criteria, let your stakeholder check it to ensure that those are all the things that you've written, those are the things that they will be testing. Because they may say, oh, can you add this other criteria, because I want to ensure I'm able to create this, I'm able to assign this, I'm able to record this, I'm able to print, you know? So, yeah, that's the in a nutshell, that's the acceptance criteria, why you need to write the acceptance criteria. And when should you document your acceptance criteria? I always say when you document your acceptance criteria before they actually finish development of that product. Find your requirements is the key, your user stories also, but you may have the time to write it alongside with your requirements and your user stories and your process map. You may have time, and sometimes even sort of like maybe depending, they may ask you, probably maybe the first 2 weeks you just written your user stories and your requirement. The third week you may use that to document your acceptance criteria, because you have a lot of things and if you happen to be the only one that actually working on that project, so you may have to probably maybe write your acceptance criteria after submitting the requirement. But definitely I would still say you need to make sure you have sign off on that acceptance criteria from the stakeholder, and then you send it to the supplier or the developer. Because and even your acceptance criteria as well, the tester, the software tester, the quality engineer, that's what they're going to use as well. It will help them to write their test cases as well. Because without the BA, the software engineer or the tester, I mean the software tester or the QA, they can't write their test cases. They can't manufacture a test cases without your requirements. How would they even know the requirements that the customer needs in the first place? Because so that's why we say a BA role is very critical, and the BA can make a project to be successful, and the BA can make the project to fail. And the reason why I say that is that if a BA writes a wrong requirements, everybody will just everything will, it's just like garbage in, garbage out. Everything a BA has written a wrong requirements, it's passed it to the developer builds wrong thing, wrong product, then the tester also they are writing wrong test cases, they've tested wrong products, and when you try to deliver to customer, they are not customer saying no, this is not what I requested. That means that project that's failed. From start to finish, that's failed. But if a BA has written a good requirement, definitely that means the developer will build the right products, then the tester will be able to write the right test cases, then the customer will be happy with the product that you've delivered. So that's why a BA is very critical. That role is very critical, and you cannot afford to miss any requirements or to write wrong requirements. Because if not, because the B developer is going to look into your requirement to build what they want to build. Without it, they can't. The tester will actually look into the requirement, your user story, your acceptance criteria to write that, to come up with the test cases. Without that, all those information they can't find. They may say, oh, it's a website, oh, we are going to write test case for how to test, but what exactly do they may not really know the detail. They may well have an idea of what they're going to test based on their experience, but not actually what has been signed up by the stakeholder. So in a nutshell, so your BA is a critical role, and you feed your information. Whatever you do, it actually is like an input to other areas as well. It feeds other projects team. And so, yeah, so once you document that acceptance criteria before the product is ill, before they finish developing the product. Because based on the requirement, the developer can start, building the product, developing the system. But at least once they have the acceptance criteria, they can now use that to do license check to say, oh, are we on the right thing? If the customer's thirsty, will they get right expected results and all those things? So, yeah, each so like I say, yeah, each user story must have, yeah. So imagine if you're trying to test a particular user story. Definitely I want to you can write it. The stakeholder may not test it, or but at least you write that acceptance criteria for each of those user story that you've listed down. So you can even come up with, so each user story can even have like three acceptance criteria. So it depends on, the detail and how the stakeholder actually wants to carry out their testing as well. And the acceptance criteria we are saying, because that's the criteria that you are trying to use and to test. So definitely whatever you've written down for your acceptance criteria, you must be able to test it. And so because that's how you can measure whether it works or not. Yeah, so that's that on acceptance criteria. Yeah, so this is the one I said I will try and open this. Let's see whether this will work. Oh, sorry. Let me get back to hopefully that will work. I will just show you sample. Um nice. Oh, work. I hope you can see that. Yes. New share. Okay, let me see whether I need to share that. Okay. Yeah, so if you can see, please just send the charts. I'll be able to look. So here, this is more or less like let's say a template for your user story. Um, let's just assume that. So our requirement is saying, oh, we want the application must allow. Remember when I said the requirements must have the Moscow, one of the Moscow. So we are now saying this is must. It must have this. It must allow the customer to withdraw cash from ATM machine. So that means, so it's a must, it's not like an option. So it's mandatory. So the priority, so that's what we call the priority here. The priority is must. And this is my user story that I've written down saying, as a customer, I want to withdraw cash from an ATM so that I do not have to maybe go to the bank or queue up at the bank. So now you have different scenario. That's just I want to be able to withdraw maybe cash. But what I'm saying is here is that scenario one is that it's possible you may not have, you may try to access the ATM and you don't have credits. How will the system react to you, when you access that, when you interact with the system? So the scenario one is that you have an account, your account is in credits, because not every time the account is in credit, some people will have, will be overdrawn. So or they don't even have money in the account. So let's assume saying you have an account. So because there are so many options, variables that we can use. So I'm saying, so if my account is in credit, so this is the one that I'm saying, Gherkin language giving when dense. So you can see that it's different from this, because this actually give more detail about the scenarios, about the circumstances. But here you can't really give all the circumstances in that basic one. You can't really give all those explanation in this format that we talked about, the basic one. But yeah, this is very detailed. Then you can now say, given the account is in credit and my card is valid. If the card is valid, we have another maybe scenario that it should reject it. So, and my card is valid, my account is in credit, my account is valid, and the ATM contains cash. It's possible that your account is in credit and your card is valid, but the ATM does not have cash. What should the system do? So that means, sometimes when you put in, she would just say, you enter your PIN number, you say sorry, out of cash. That means, if it's that scenario, we say the system should display out of cash. But the scenario here is that when the customer requests cash, imagine, if you remember, it has cash, the ATM has cash, and then ensure that the system should do this, should ensure that your account is debited and ensure that the cash is dispensed. So because it's not possible that we debit your account and we don't return the cash. So these are all the things that we want the system to do, and then ensure that the card is returned. So this is very detailed. And another scenario is that, how about if my account is overdrawn? Imagine, given the account is overdrawn, that's the circumstances, um, and the card is valid and the ATM contain cash. You can see that the only difference is that my account is overdrawn here. And when I enter the PIN number and the PIN number is correct, then display the available balance and the cash is dispensed. So that's if I have overdraft, maybe overdraft arrangement. But if I don't have overdraft arrangement, definitely maybe I would just say the system should display no enough money in the account. So you have different scenarios that you can write just for I want to withdraw cash, because it's possible for you to want to withdraw cash, you don't have money, or you have money, or you have money, your PIN number is incorrect. What should happen? Or you have money, your maybe your card is out of date, it should swallow your card. There's even with from this one user story, you can write maybe like six or five different scenarios, from just this one requirements, one uses basic user story. But these getting scenarios, you can have five or multiple or more scenarios there. And so this is more or less like the account acceptance criteria, saying customers must be able to withdraw cash from it when their account is in credit only. So that means I'm saying they should be able to withdraw cash only when the account is in credit. So that means when we are doing the testing, we will try to test when the account is overdrawn or does not have money. Then I want to check whether it's the ATM will still dispense money, with this still dispense cash. So that means if it dispense cash when my account is even overdrawn and I don't have overdraft arrangement, that means the system is not working. There is a bug with the system. It's not working correctly. So, and also another criteria is that I want the ATM to validate. So I may want to try, when I'm doing my testing, I may want to actually try whether, if I use the accounts as I have an account, I have credit in it, and I want to use maybe Barclays Bank card for Barclays Bank, for, let's say, or I could even say, okay, let's say I want to use Mr. Hayes card for Mr. B's. I think that one is not really a good example. Okay, let's say I want to use I would like, okay, let's say we use wrong PIN number. Let's even say wrong PIN number, and I put in wrong. But despite the fact is my card, and I have money in the account, but I just put wrong PIN, because it's possible that somebody else actually lay their hands on that my card, and they want to just commit fraud on the account. They just want to withdraw my money. So that means I'm saying you should always authenticate the card, to ensure the card actually belongs to the right owner. So this actually will also validate that. So that's why this customer is saying, I want to be able to make sure that maybe wrong PIN number does not dispense money to to unknown user, or maybe identity fraud, things like that. So so you can see the reason why you need to write acceptance criteria, and why you need to write your user stories. This scenario, definitely sometimes the BA, they do write it, and most times definitely the tester will write this as well. But yeah, so but it depends on the sets in the project team. So that's, you have different. We have the, like this one we are saying application must allow creation of journal. So that's like a feature from the system. As an accountant, I want to create a ledger so that I can post financial transaction. And we have another one which is should. So isn't, although this one is where it should be should here. So which means as an internet banking customer, I want to see my balance so that I can know the balance. So the balance is displayed when I try to, or log in with the correct user. So you may have different scenarios for all these. Yeah, so that's on the requirements. So let's move on to, let me try and say that. Okay, yeah, let's quickly wrap up so that we can move to the process. And so now you've documented your requirements, your user stories, your process map, you've done that, and your acceptance criteria. And so what do? You validate. Once all your require everything has been documented, you validate that, you send it to the stakeholder to actually review it, and that's the chance for them to actually say whether you've missed anything, or if they have a new requirement to have to want to add to it. Validate to validation. So from there, if they don't have any comments or any any amendments, or whether to remove or to add, then they will ask you to, they will just sign it. And then you ask them that if you're happy with the requirement, could you please provide your approval or sign off? So once you have that sign off, and that is sealed, so that means it will turn to 1.0. I think in the previous video we discussed about the versioning documents, like document version, things like that. So like if you write a requirement and you send it to the user, so that would be, the first one would be zero point 0.1. And so that's like document control thing, and so it's zero point 0.1. So you may send an argument like, oh, team, could you please change this, could you please add this, could you please remove this? So then you have to make that changes. Once you make the changes, it turns to 0 0.2. You send it back to the stakeholder again to review. Oh, sorry, I've just identified another gap here. Could you please add, or once they are making the changes, you keep, the version will keep increasing by 0 point 0 point 0 point, even 0 0.11, 0 0.12, until once they're happy with the documents. Then once they say, oh yeah, it looks okay now, I'm happy to provide sign off for you. You can have the sign off by email. Definitely it's usually by email from all the places I've worked, so it depends on the setting. So once you have it by, you have your sign off, not by word of mouth. Even if they tell you that, oh, I will sign it off for you, but when you get back to your desk, to send an email that, as discussed, could you please provide sign off on the requirements, and it attaches the requirement. Yeah, so that's an evidence to say you have a sign up before you actually send the document for development. So that's it. Then you'll be able to save that. So once they provide that sign up, then you can now save that version as 1.0. So that's your first. Even if they make changes after if they've signed up that requirement, and they now say, maybe down the line, maybe they've even started developing, and then like, oh, we have a new requirement, that may have to probably maybe go through change control depending on the manager. And even if there's a new requirement that needs to be added to the previous one you submitted, it will be 1.1. So you have to do the amendments again, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, till they have to provide a sign off on it again. Then it will turn to 2.0, like that till till you finish the project, if it leads to 3.0, or yeah. So but each time they provide sign off, you actually change to point zero, point zero, later 2.0, 3.0. Yeah, so that's validation. Yeah. Okay, so and so now your requirements have been signed off. You've passed that to the supplier. It could be external, which is the third party supplier. It could be your IT team within the organization. And what you do once you send that, then definitely the development team or the testing team should be liaising with you because you are representing the customer. I mean, the stakeholder, which are your customer. So you, because you are customer facing, you represent them. So and so they should be able to let you know, the testing and development team should be able to tell you, saying, oh, your product will be ready for testing so this. Then you need to plan. You need to check the calendars of your stakeholders. Who are the people that need to test your products? So you need to know that beforehand. Then you try to arrange that in their calendars. You know, maybe you are going to need a meeting room, you need a screen. You know, definitely if you are going to do demo, you need a screen. Even as we're all working from home, you can, you definitely you can do that via, they can, you know, maybe Teams or Zoom, they can share their screen and they will be doing the demo as well. So definitely, but assuming that you are in office, just need to look for probably maybe a meeting room that has a big screen. Then they can demo, the developer or the tester, they will come there to, you know, the technical team will uh, do all the demo for you, and the customer will be able to ask question, and you know, and say whether they're happy with it, or that's an opportunity for them to say, oh, sorry, this is not what I requested, or yeah, can you change this, or can you modify this, can you tweak this, you know. So you need to make sure you actually, you know, you facilitate that session for UAT, because is your more or less like is your session, and you need to facilitate, you need to put the, you know, the arrangement, make sure your stakeholder are available for that. And sometimes as a BA, they write you to they ask you to write test cases. So yeah, so sometimes I've worked in a place because I can write test cases, but at the same time, because if you're working with a supplier, they may write their test cases and they might say, I want to see your test cases. I may say that I want to review, because maybe some of the things I've written that they've not captured, I may need to be able to share it with them and say, oh, I want you to add this test case to your list. So it could be, but not all BA they will have to. It depends on the project setting anyway. And so when you do the conduct the UAT, and then once the UAT is being finalized, your customers, they're happy with what the products that they've probably delivered. Then you say, could you please provide a sign off? You get a sign off on that as well. Despite the fact that you have a sign off the requirement, but now that the product has been delivered, you need a sign off to say, oh yes, we're happy and we want you to actually push that to maybe production environments, or maybe testing environments, or maybe, you know, depending on how they set up their environments. So, and that's your job done once you have that. Once you obtain your sign off on the UHC, not on the requirements, on the UHC. And sometimes they may even move you. Maybe once you document the requirement, they may move you to they may move you to another project. So, but definitely you're supposed to actually see this through to UAT, and to ensure your customers are happy with the products that you've actually delivered. So that's like seeing it hand to hand. And so I think I will not go into this because of time. So you need to understand the life cycle of a software development. You know, like even if we are building any system or like a website, so it still involves you, you know, gathering your requirements. And once you gather your requirements, definitely you have people designing it. They will design the solution. How are we going to design the solution? You know, maybe there are some things that need to put in place. Maybe they need to consider the existing system. They need to consider the integration of that system with the existing one. Or they may say, oh, we need to buy this and buy, you know, there are so many things that they need to consider. And once this been designed, you know, some definitely different organization, they have different maybe board, or you know, that actually sits on their design. Some people will say their technical design authority. Some will say they are BDA, you know, depending anyway. So you may have a different team that actually designed the solution, and once that design has is been agreed, then it will move to development. They can now start developing, and that's after the development, that's when the tester will now start testing that product or system or application. And once the testing is being done, the UAT, you can do the UAT, then they can now say, oh yeah, we are happy with the product. You can deploy that to live environments. Yeah, let's start using it or roll it out to the system or to customers. So that's the deployment. Then the maintenance is like, maintaining that. This is more or less like a background work. So, but these are the stages of like software development. You just need to know, what's uh happens afterwards. So you just need to know that. And this as these ceremonies when you are working in agile environments, you have your sprint planning. So that's where you discuss before you actually begin a sprint. And I'm sure if you listen to the probably maybe the agile course, they will be able to explain that. And I think in previous videos as well, I think I did. So the sprints, so you actually need to plan your sprints before you commence that sprint. And your sprints could be 2 weeks, it could be 4 weeks, it could be in 1 week. Some people, it depends on how the scrum master plans that sprints or the projects. And so you have your product owner because you have um, different roles there. So you have what we call product owner, you have what we call scrum master, which you don't have in waterfall. And then you have your daily scrum where you give updates about what you did yesterday, what you are going to do today, and if there's any blocker, it's more or less like a sharp and precise updates. And so it's usually 15 minutes, but some people they will say they're having stand up and it takes them 30 minutes. That's not a typical stand up. His typical stand up should just be like 15 minutes or less. So depending on the number of people that you have in the setting, but it should not be more than 15 minutes. And sprint review, you do that also after you've completed your sprints. You do that sprint review. Then they also the sprint retrospective as well. That's where you do your lesson learned and other things as well. Yeah, so I will not go into detail of that. Let me change that. And the agile, sorry, okay, let me change it. So the project management too. I'll follow this way. So the project management tool, we call it collaboration tool. So you use this as well to manage the project. Like now you have your requirements, you have it signed off. As even when you sign it off, they may ask you that could you probably maybe write or probably maybe upload all the user stories, right? Input all the user stories in Jira, because that is where you can manage the project. Or what you are doing, you can actually manage it on the system. You can see what has been delivered, what is in development, what is in analysis at the moment, what is being tested. You can easily track it. So and Confluence also is another tool. Azure DevOps is another Microsoft tool as well for this collaboration too. So you can use that, but it's something that you can actually maybe learn. You can get free access to Jira and also Azure DevOps as well. You can just play around it. I think the last session we actually did a bit on that. Yeah, so you'll be able to play around that. And modeling tips, so I'll quickly show you on how we have numbering, how you can number your processes. And also if you have two functions that's completing the same task. So, like for example, if like the lane one and lane two, lane one, lane two, they are actually carrying out the same task. How do you represent it in within that process? You don't need to do draw two boxes for it. You just use one, but you just put it in the middle. I will try and show you earlier or later. And also adding hyperlink to a task, I will try and show that as well. And also labeling. So I just want to make sure we run through this before we move into a Visio. And so here, benefit realization. This is something that you carry out after the project. Not all BA will be asked to do this, but there are some there are some projects. If you are still in the organization or if you are still on that project, they may ask you to do this. This is to actually measure the benefits that is being realized. But it's not something that you can do within a week. You can't measure something that you just delivered and just measure it within a week. No, that's not realistic. But sometimes it could be like in 1 month thing. It could be maybe after 6 months. They may say, oh yeah, I actually want to actually see whether there's any benefit. We want to measure the benefits, because before the project, definitely the project manager would have submitted a business case to justify the investments, and yeah, so then you can carry out. So there are various ways that you can carry out the benefit realization, but not all the time that they will ask you to do that. Yeah, so on that I will move on to the Visio one. Let me see the message. So the question is, when there are corrections sent in. Oh, my this. So when there are um, corrections sent in from stakeholder, the version used, does it differ from the one used when the validation sign off is given? Okay, yes. So when you send, for example, actually you have zero point 0.3 and you send it to me as stakeholder to actually review and sign off. While reviewing that, I make him maybe have a new comment to say, can you change this P to capital P, or can you change this to amend to assign? I will send it back to you. I will reply to you in an email saying, can you change this? You make remember you sent me the zero point 0.3. Then you when you are updating it, you will say zero point 0.4, right? So you say 0 0.4, update maybe amend or section 1.2. You understand, because you are trying to let me know what you've changed, what is different from zero point 0.3 that you sent to me. Then when I'm looking at the version history, because that is usually like at the beginning of the page, so then I'll be able to see that it's not zero point 0.4, or maybe updated section 3.2. Now you've sent it to me waiting for approval. You now say, okay, can you provide approval? Maybe while reviewing it, I note something again, I will make that comment and send it back to you. So until I say, can you oh, I've not signed it off, that's when you will not change it to. So imagine now I'm happy with zero point 0.4. I will send it to you, right? Then when I'm updating it, then I will now say 1.0. Then I will now say approved version. So but at least you will see that before I send, because before I actually sent it to you, I've put zero point 0.4 already. So which is, I've not provided you I've provided maybe approval, because I don't think you will want to erase zero point 0.4 that you've actually updated. So what I would just do on top of that zero point 0.4, I would just add another arrow, say 1.0 approved version. So because you don't know, you can't write approve 1.0 until I approve it. So you just need to add it as another line. So I don't know whether that actually answer your question. As a BA, is there a checklist or guide for you whenever you are to on a project? Well, it depends. Serious, they will not. I don't think anyone we. Although if you have like if it's a big organization, it's not necessarily big. It depends on the setting of the organization and the BA, how mature the BA community is. If you have a good setup where they have a good, or maybe BA team, and is very matured, the team probably maybe may have something in place that they've already say, if any new starter comes, these are the team pro, maybe for every project they need to produce these artifacts. They could have, but it's not something that is compulsory. They have to provide, and is not something that's you know It's not something that they, it's not really like a mandatory thing that they have to provide for you, but they expect you to know. Although the project manager may say, I want you to provide BRD, the process map, and also because from one organization to it differs. So some people will may say, oh yes, we want you to just write the BRD and process map, and some may have like seven different documentation. So they may say you have to do impact analysis, you have to do traceability matrix, you have to do process map, you have to do, they may have different documents that they do, produce for each project. So yeah, but they will not have, normally they don't usually have a checklist except if it's like a big organization and they have big community. They may have saying for every project this is the minimum that you need to produce. Yeah, so it depends. Yeah. Yes, okay. um Yes, okay. So the the class will be recorded. I mean, I think it's even been recorded to be uploaded to YouTube channel. Once you subscribe, you'll get a notification once this video, once we upload it. Just a follow-up question, please. Do you have like a real roadmap that can be used for navigation? Well, to be, I don't have one, but as a minimum, I will expect that you have your BRD. You need to have your BRD. You need to have your um. Some people use the Excel for their user stories as a user story template because they feel it helps. It's maybe cleaner or something. And your acceptance criteria, definitely I do use Excel for that, but it depends on the organization. You may use Word, but I do use Excel for acceptance criteria. So at least minimum, I would say BRD. You need to write, where you have your BRD, your processes, your user stories, your acceptance criteria minimum. And depending on the project, you may need to have wireframe, because if you are doing sort of like maybe like mentioned, digital project, like a maybe Power BI project, you need sort of need something that has to do with visualization, so you need to have your wireframe as well. Yeah, so it depends. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so let's quickly move on to our Visio. Yeah. Hopefully, we'll be able to get through that in the few in 30 minutes. Yeah, I'll try. Okay, yeah. So let me try and minimize the. So, so this is my Visio, which I've opened up. Assuming that is a new, you can just access it via your stats. Um, like I said last week, you can just even get that on eBay, for a few quid. And so let's assume that I've opened that up and I want to create a new one. So what I would do, I'll just go to start. So here you have different templates. So if you just want to do like the basic one that we took, that you will not know who is doing what, then you can use this basic flowcharts. But I'm not going to use that. There's another one, what we call the brainstorming. You use that for a different purpose, not just necessarily sequence stuff. And let's say this is a cross-functional one, which is the BA one. I mean the swim lane, where you have different routes. So I'll select that. While that is loading, you can see here you have different templates again. This is the horizontal one, so which means it's at lane, like horizontally. And this one is also different, which is the vertical one. So that means you will have to write. Okay, I can easily quickly show you that anyway. So remember open the horizontal. So here I can say, I hope you can see. Let me try and, yeah. So I mean, so here you can see that function one. I may write. You can delete this. I'm just using this as example, because if you want to do it, definitely you remove all these things, then you create your own, because you may not need all these boxes. So I may say this is says You just need to just click on it on the box. So I may say this is marketing. Maybe this is tech, and this is finance. So that means I have different finance. So that means I have different, you know, lanes for different areas. Probably maybe the way I want to map my process. You could see. Let me just try and move this one away. Excuse me. So if you can see now, you could see that at least this person is a start decision. You know, that's just a template which you can delay. But I'm not going to use this. I will delete. I will leave this. Let me just hopefully, yeah. Let me close this. This is not what I want to. Don't save. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think I have to open that again. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I will share my screen. Let me just quickly bring that up. Okay. Um. Okay. I think that actually closed my visio. I closed everything. Okay. I'll share my screen again. If the okay, share screen. Okay. Yeah. So now I want to open a new one. Let me quickly check the message here. Okay, that's for this interesting. Okay. So I wa- so now I want to create this one. I'll select that. So, but I want the horizontal one. So you just select it and create. Yeah. Okay. So you could see, yeah, you have the same, but I can say I don't need all these things. I want to delete it and just have a blank page. I can delete, remove everything. Just remove it. So this is a blank page. Now, here, before you can draw anything here, you need some things here, to print, to make up your process map. And here you have different uh, tab different things that you can select shapes as well. So for this, but because it's a cross-functional one, is usually on this flow chart. Then you can see once you select this, it will show up at the left hand side. So, and because I'm going to need basic flow chart shape as well, you can see is here as well. So we've selected these two because those are the two that I think I need for now. So you can see, so that's why you see some people, like people that do like network planning or maybe engineering, they have their own, you know what they can use here as well. People that do like designing, a lot of things. If you check here, have different things, maybe like even maybe organization charts. You can use this for different things, but we're not going to go into that. So anyway, so here I'm going to expand this. This is my swim lane because I've clicked on the cross functional. If I unclick this, if I click this, so that means it will show my basic flow. This is where you have all these shapes. But for your swim lane, to actually put that swim lane, you just select the cross functional. So all I need to do is just drag and drop. The first thing I want to do, I want to put my plane in my lane in place. So you just do drag, you can see automatically it will drop. Because I will need maybe two, let's say three lanes. Yeah. So I will just, once you drop it, it will join up. All I just need to is just, that's it. So I have my three lanes now. Um Let me just try and move this away. Hope it's not too big. Sorry, I hope I will not close anything here. Okay, yeah. Okay. So now I want to move. So for you, you need to always label your your process. Because if you write a process or if you map a process, how will I know? If you leave the organization, how would they know what the process is for? Or when you are even sending to a stakeholder, how would they know what the process that you've drawn up for? How would they know? So always label your process is number one rule that I do tell people. Always label your process. So let's say we want to say, and when you are writing your process, it needs to start with a verb. So, like register a student, admit a patient, admit a staff, enroll student. It needs to start with a verb. So let's say register students. Let's say, yeah, register students. Yeah. So that is the title. Yeah. So at least, and what is not mandatory, but what I try to recommend is that I try as much as possible to put, it could be on the same lane. I mean, the first where you have, or line where you have the register. But sometimes I try to use this. Depending is not. You can delete this phase. What I try to put here is to put, this is my version 0.1, because in terms of the process map as well, because when you map your process, you send it to your stakeholder to review. They may have some comments, you make changes again, you change to 0.2, 0.3, till they sign it off. So everything needs to be signed off. So let's say 0.1. And what I try to do as well is, sometimes I try to add the date. Let's say today is 26/01 to you know and the reason why I'm doing that is so that peradventure maybe 5 years, 5 years time, if somebody picks it up, they will be able to know that this process was actually mapped 5 years ago. And definitely, if they see 0.1, they know that definitely the approved version, which is 1.0 or 2.0, will be somewhere. So it's just good practice. Let me just say, it's just good practice, but it's not mandatory, but it's a good practice which I usually do, and I try to recommend that. And so we have our dates. We have your, so once you make any amendment, always make sure you change the version. So let's go down to the business. And so now we at the shape, you can see here that you have this different color. But one thing is that when you buy your Visio, it comes in blue, and that's like a default one. And here, design. When you click on design, you have different flavor colors. So you could see here, if I change this, you can see here, this is the default setting that you will have when you activate your license for the Visio. So you can see that these shapes have changed. So once I start dragging it, everything. So if I select this, it will change. Yeah. So depending on how you want it, you can do the style and design it the way you want. Even if I click here, so you can see, even then you have different variants again. So you have here. So anyway, that's not the key. That's not the key thing. So let's go to the default one, which is this one. Let's go to that one. So yeah, so now we have all our shapes that we can drag here. And at the same time, some people will say, oh, I've got grid line, because you may probably maybe in the organization, once you force it, it may has like all these. If you 2B, I will show you, we call it 2B. Sorry, I will just go on to be. Sorry, that's a bit of distraction from the case. And so, apologies for that. Um, so I would now, so what you need to do, you can go to, if you go to view, you note this background now, just note here. So you can see it's a plain background, but if I click on this, you can see. So anytime you open up your Visio and you have this and you want to remove this, just come to this view and remove. That's it. That will yeah. So let's go back to where we are on the design. So some people may want to have backgrounds, so you can select your background as well. So it's just for you, if you think, oh, how did this person actually do all this thing, you can apply different background. So let's leave that background there. And also in terms of the title, you can see different style of the title, but mainly I do this style most time because it's the first one. Yeah, so then you can have your different connectors here, so I'm not going to go into that, and your layout as well. Yeah, but let's go down to the business. Yeah, so here, so now we want to map for you to, for all your process need to always have a start. A process will have a start and end. And so you have, this is the shape for the start. First close, try closing. Oh, so I think there's an error. Okay, yeah, okay, okay, let's see. Hopefully we will not get that error. And so this is our start. So sometimes I try to share, because we have different, the same for start and end. So sometimes what I do is to shade this, to fill this with green, so that will signify my start. And once I finish, because I'm still going to use the same shape for end, definitely I'm not supposed to put it there, but I'm just trying to show you. So I will just fill that with red, so that at least you will know the difference, that this one is start, and that this one is start, and this one is start, and this one is end of my process. And there's another one before I will quickly show you, that is the BPMN. We mentioned BPMN earlier. So you see that the shapes are different. So you could see now. So for the start, if I'm going to use BPMN shapes, I will have to use this as a start. Then I can fill that as for green for my start and for my end. Definitely, I don't even need to do it, because this signifies end. So you can see. So it has end. You have different shape for that. So you have data store, like your database. When you are sending a message, you use this to signify your message during the process. You could see, you will note that is different from the basic one, but I would delete this one because we are not using. um I just hope we'll be able to quickly run through the processes, or just map something. Okay, yeah, let's go back to our basic. We want to use basic. So now what we are saying is that we want to register a student. How will a student be registered in the first place? So now, what would be the first thing that we want to actually do? So if you over on this, you could see here you have an option of different shapes. So I'm saying, what would be the next thing? When we want to register your students, maybe first of all is to browse the school website. Let's say browse. If it's an activity like a task, so this actually signify like a task that you do. This is one decision, is like when you are trying to make a decision, like asking a question. I would try to use that. This sub process means there's another process that you need to carry out. For example, maybe there's a process of enrolling, or maybe or and maybe like training. I may want to use, there's a process like train staff separately, but because I don't want to put all those boxes for training, then I may want to just say this is training. So that means that this is a training process. It's just to reduce that. So if you see here, the database is different from the one we actually saw on the BPMN. So it's still the same, like a database. When you are saving maybe your information in a system or something, you use this to represent a system. And when you are filling up, maybe completing a document or something that has to do with documents, you will use this is like a document. But when you are carrying out a task, that's when you use this. So you can walk through this anyway, but because I know we'll not be able to have time to do all this. So yeah, so what I would do, all you just need to is to click on it. And remember, when you are doing the task, always start with a verb. So let's say browse. Browse is a verb. Browse. Let's say browse. Let's say we want to enroll on a BBC website. Let's say BBC internship. So I would say browse. I can say browse. I can even say browse BBC website. Browse BBC websites. So that's a task that I need to do, right? That's a task. And remember, you can actually try to, use different colors. It depends. But I'm not going to do that designing tonight. So now, after browsing a website, what would be the next thing? I can say maybe check for internship program. Check. Check is a verb. Always when you are using this rectangle box, always starts with a verb. So if you write something for me, process map, and you use noun, I will know that definitely maybe this person is say like baby BA. So yeah, so check internship or internship program. Um yeah, I'm not really seeing that. Let me minimize my okay, check internship program. Then what? Then I can say the next thing I want to do is, are you a graduate? Or I can say, because what I want to say is that when you check the for me to be able to display, maybe for the system to be able to display something, we want to ask the student that, are you um undergraduate? I can even say undergraduate question mark. So it still means the same thing. So I can say undergraduate. Are you undergraduate? So because it's a question, it's a decision. Always have. You need to always make sure you have a question mark here. So anytime you use it, and definitely your this thing needs to align. Your what's it called? Your shape needs to make sure anytime you map your process, always make sure the lines are straight. And also, one other thing before I forget is, when you are sending your process map to your stakeholder, remember to always save it as PDF, because not all because this Visio require license, and not all stakeholder will have license for Visio. A lot of stakeholder will not have access to Visio. They will not have the license. So when you send them this file to review, this process map to review, definitely they may not be able to open it. So you need to always know that when you are sending your process map to your stakeholder, always convert it to PDF. What you just do is a save as. You just save it, then you have the option, the drop down, to save as maybe JPEG or PDF. You can do that anyway. So, and anytime you are using this decision box, always note that you need to have yes or no. Because you are asking a question, so is either yes or no. It will be one of the answers, one of it. But you need to say, if it's yes, what should happen if it's yes? We can say, I'm not going to try and use other this thing. We can say, download. Let's say download a form. So let's say download a form. Oh yeah, let's say download a form, or we can even say apply, or we can even say okay, let's say download a form anyway. Oh, sorry, where is it? Let me try anyway. Where is the country? Okay, sorry. Okay, I'll try and enlarge it again. So let's say, okay, download. So we are saying, if the person is an undergraduate, we say yes. So, but if it's no, my no needs to be say something. Maybe we don't even have any internship program for graduates. We can say, we can even say, if it, let's say we don't have, we can say no. Um, we can say end. So all you just need to click on the line and you just type on it. That's it. Once you click on the line, you'll be able to type on it. So anytime you have this, always make sure this decision box. You need to make sure you have two arrows coming out there. So either yes or no, then you can proceed. Then because this one will end here, so I can easily fill this one up. Then you can do it like small, wherever, definitely depending on the size that you want. But I'm not going to do all this today. So then maybe then if this person actually, because you can have two ends or three ends depending. And so we download a form, we can say I can easily drag here. So all I just need is to just click on that and it will connect. So what I'm saying is maybe complete a form, complete or submit a form. It's a say complete a form or submit a form. And sometime complete a form or complete yeah, or we can say complete form or completed form. So, and probably maybe once you complete this, maybe it will say maybe send to. So what is this is just showing that you are filling a document. That's what is just showing there. So we can now say maybe post to post or print. Let's say send to HR team. So yeah, it could be that's the end of the process, but I will try. You can adjust the boxes if you want, if you can, and you can even exceed what's it called, the page. It will just expand. So let's say this is the end of my process because we are doing a short one tonight. So this is because visual alone it takes like maybe you can use 2 hours to do that. Yeah, to do the training for the so what we are saying is that to register a student we have the browse we browse the websites, then we check a website. All you need to know is that the boxes needs to link. You can't have this disjointed. Everything needs to end with the end at the hand shape. So we browse the website, then check internship program. Are you a graduate? If undergraduate, if you are not undergraduate, then no. That means that ends there. But if you're undergraduate, then download a form on our website. Then you complete the form, then you send to HR team, and yeah, and that's the end of the process. But you could have multiple, like maybe 30 boxes, which makes it like a big one. So all you need to do, and sometimes that's why sometimes some people will label it like say this is box 1, box 2, box 3, box 4, box 5. And because depending on if you have multiple, like many shapes. So because sometimes if you have a lot of boxes filling this place, definitely that may be difficult to read sometime. But for this one is actually one function. But because it's just like this student, what I need to do here is the students. So probably let's say this is HR team. Let's say this is our HR team. HR team. So you need to make sure you label it. And let's say even so if that is HR team, then definitely that could end. This one could actually maybe come up here to end it. It's not necessarily that they will terminate it. It seems we are going to go over 10 o'clock today, but I will try to quickly wrap up. And so, probably, maybe when they send to HR team, the HR team review, maybe review the application, review, or let's say shortlist, maybe review, let's say shortlist students. Yeah, so that means this is not going to be in the end of my process then. So then we can say contact student, maybe contact students, contact successful student, successful students, contact successful students. You can expand this. So let's say then let's say where this person will receive. I will drag this one, just drag. So the arrow can come up here, so you can adjust, but I'm not going to be adjusting this thing because you can easily click on it and just straighten it. So let's say receive um receive offer, and Maybe that is the end of the process. Yeah. So yeah, that could be. So we are saying if they send to the to HR team, send to HR, the student will send to HR team. The HR team will shortlist. Let me remove this. Then the HR team will shortlist the students. You remember this is the role for the HR team, and then the HR team will contact unsuccessful student. The student will receive the offer, and that ends the process. Probably, maybe that's just my simple process. Yeah, I will stop there. Then to add hyperlink, because I mentioned that. So let's say this is browse, and there's a way I can do this. All I need to do, click on the shape, go to, I think is the insert. You can either use this, which it will be the same thing if I right click hyperlink. If I click on hyperlink, you can see I right click, but let's say I want to click on this, it's the same thing. All I want to do is to say, then is we are saying is browse, because it will be, you can easily, just try that. Let's say www dot the address, this is web address, remember. And yeah, so all you just need to type the web address. It could be anything. You can say whatever web address that it is. So that's all you need. You can even say this is internship page. We can say this is internship page. Yeah, then all you just need is to click OK. Yeah, okay. So now, how do you want you can see now that it's changed, but if I click on it, you can see that the cursor has changed. The cursor has changed, but because this one has hyperlink, you can see is showing internship page. You can see the screen tip there, internship. So all I need to do, if I want to go to internship page, you press on your control, click on the shape. You can see, because now I'm pressing on my control. Once you over on it, press on your control, it changed to finger. That's it. I just click OK. Now it's connecting me to BBC website. I'm not sure if you are seeing my if you can see my this thing. I will see if you can easily see the let me quickly share my screen, my web page. Maybe you'll be able to see. uh, So you can see now, you are seeing my BBC website. So this is my BBC website. So that's just another way. So back to my vision. So that's, so if you are using, if it's something that has to do with, and what you, if you want to remove the hyperlink, all you need to do is just to right click on it and maybe edit hyperlink, and you can just delete, and it will. So now I've deleted it, it is back. Even if I press on control, it's not changing again. So that's how to add your hyperlink. And another way, but before you can activate the hyperlink, you need to click on the shape. And another thing is that if you check here, you can actually link it to a file on your network, or on the network folder, or on your system. But I'm not going to do that to access my home PC. So, but you can actually do that to locate, add that shape, direct it to your local file, or maybe your PC on your PC or your network. And another thing is that you can do is this. I can say I want to link this page to page 2. Remember, let me first cancel this one. Okay, so cancel. You can see here, I'm not sure if you can see my page. Oh, you can see here we just have V background, page 1 and V background. So now I want to add the shape. I want to, you know, add hyperlink on it. So I want to link it. So you can actually link that, saying that page should link you to the second page. You can see here. Remember, we're on page 1, but I want to link this to page. So you can see now it will take me to V background shape. So you can see, so you can link shape to pages, you can link to website, you can link to your local file. Yeah, so I think that's all I can share on that. Let me quickly go through the messages, then yeah. Okay, yeah, I enroll for a BA internship. I can still enroll. Yeah, I think somebody probably maybe. So how do you make decision to either use BPMN or basic shape? It depends. So s- different organization they have different. They may say, "Oh, what we use here is BPMN shape." Yeah, but if they don't have one, you can just use the basic flow charts, and that is, I think that's common. So, but some organization will say, "Oh, we use BPMN notations here, BPMN." Yeah. So, but majority use basic flow. Yeah. So you can use basic flow charts, flow chart shapes. How do you make decision? Okay, we've talked about that. And QA internship preview. Okay, you've done that. What if it's an online registration form? Will you still use the document shape? Yeah, if it's online form, yeah, you can use a document, because what we are trying to refer there is that you are completing a document. Despite the fact is a form. You know, the form is more or less like a document. You can still use it. I will still use it if yeah, I can still use it. Or if you don't want to, you can just use the rectangle one and just say complete online form, and you can easily link like what we just did now. You can actually link hyperlink that shape to the online form. If you can navigate the address, you can do that. But some people, they don't even use that document shape, to be honest. Some people, a lot of people don't use it. They'll just say complete a document, complete it. They don't usually use that document. But that this document shape is actually, is actually meant for, to reference you to, when you are using a document. This is what it's there for. It's for a document, to represent a document. But you can decide not to use. But some people are not really fussy about it as an organization. Okay, let me quickly read through the remaining charts. Um, yeah, can you have multiple ends in the diagram, or will link multiple ends? Yeah, why are processing different swim lanes? Yeah, I think we've discussed the processing different lanes. Yeah, because if you have different people, I mean different role, like for example, you want to differentiate what finance is doing. Okay, let's get here. I will try and minimize this to see if I can. Okay. So here, what we are saying is that we want to be able to show that this is what the students will be doing. This is what the HR will be doing, and it could be we have finance here, maybe to sponsor them to allocate a bursary. So they will be able to say this is what. It's just to differentiate who is doing what. That's the essence. And you can, when we say multiple ends, yeah, you can have. This is we have two ends here, because there are some things that are actually terminated here before it's the so if that's answer your question, multiple ends. And the shape can either have in and out. It's possible that this particular shape has another one that comes to this HR team. Probably maybe when they browse the website, maybe the HR gets notification. Maybe notification is being received. Maybe we can say receives notification. So probably maybe once anybody, the student browse website, the uh the um the HR team will receive notification maybe in their mailbox, and at the same time the student can still progress with the browsing. But what you need to always note that this needs to connect to something. Is either it ends here, or it connects. What happens, what you need to understand is that, okay, if you receive notification, what do you do with it? That's what you need to ask the HR team, and they'll be able to tell you, oh, maybe we file it in a folder, or maybe we don't do anything. Then you can just have, what I can do here is to actually to add another hand. I can use my connector here. I can just add another hand here. So that's it. So that means I can say once we receive the notification, it ends there. We don't do anything. It could be. So you can have multiple entry in and out, but all you need to know is that one needs to connect to the other. The only one that you don't really need to have like out, it is the end and also the sub process, because if I say there's another sub process here, this means maybe there's another process that needs to kick in when it could be once they receive the notification, maybe another process kicks in here. So I don't need to have this. I can just say training or bursary or allotments process. So that means I'm saying this is another process that kicks in. I didn't need to have end for this sub process because it's like a process within for like another different process, because I don't want to start, you know, drawing out all the shapes. I'm just saying refer to. And what I can do, if I know the location of this allotments process, or I can just even say allotments. So if that means the process name will be allotments, because once you see this shape, you know that it is a sub process. So I can just say allotments without even putting big. Most time you don't even put that. You can just say allotment. So that means it could be maybe this one is the allotment, and this V background is that's where you have the allotments process. That means once I click on this, it will just take me to come to allotment. Then I will have similar boxes like this that will, you know, that you have single boxes like that. And yeah, that's that. I hope that's clear. Any other questions? So only you need to make sure is that you need to have in and out, in and out, in and out. The only time when you don't have is maybe when it's end or maybe sub process. I can't really think of any other time that you don't have in and out. So you see now one is entering here, going in, and yeah. So I hope that is clear. If there's no other question, thank you so much for your time. Yeah, with the organization app, is it ready for us to use? Oh, yeah, yeah. If you're working in the, if you're employed, definitely the organization will provide it for you. Yeah, the organization will provide it. It's only for personal use. If you want to practice on your own, then you can buy the license. Yeah, on eBay you can get that. Then you can install that on your PC. But aside that, definitely the organization will provide that for you. Yeah. So, yeah, if no other questions, and thank you so much. And are you able to register for internship now? Yeah, I think the Visio, to be honest, the one that I've been using is been I've been using it for a while, so it lasts as long as the license. Once it is, I think it's a one-time purchase, except you want to renew that version if you are using 2003 version. If you now want to do 2000, you want to change it to 2019, then it may stop. Then you can change it, but aside that, it's just there for a long time. Yeah, it's just there. It has never expired. The one I've been using has never expired. Yeah, because it's a license anyway. It's just that I will not have up to date version. That's just the only difference. Yeah. So, yeah. Thank you. So thanks everyone.